An unofficial Warhammer 40,000 story. Written by Jonathan Ojeda. Read by Rebellious Kite. The Brutas Chronicle. A Nostromo Lives side story.
Nostromo lives.
We were betrayed, stabbed in the back by the very thing which we sought to flourish. Our father led us to our death, and Faraz, the visionary, chose exile. Of course, he never agreed with our father's philosophy to begin with. We could all see it. The visionary only cared to bring Nostromo back. Resurrection of the eternal night. A new era to thrive in once again.
The Edge of the Galaxy. Laughter echoed down the black hallways of the abyss. The sound pressed against metal corridors, searching its way out, fading as it went further. Drakhtaro let his hand fall heavy onto his thigh, his joyful expression given grim features as the scars on his face rested into his smile. Radel reflected this emotion. The contagious laugh infected his mind as he tried to suppress the sneer creeping out. Demol sat between the two, unimpressed, leering at them as he waited for the moment to pass.
"Are you done?"
Demol asked with tempered anger. Draktaro's expressive features began to settle as he reached for Demol's shoulder.
"Do not touch me,"
Demol forced out.
"Worry not. It was all in good taste. A mere jest, I'm sure."
Drakhtaro attempted to ease the discontent.
"Consider us equal, Demol. I dare not tempt such fate again. You have my word."
Radel extended his hand in sentiment of the statement. Demol eyed the gesture in slight disgust.
"Fair enough,"
Demol responded, carrying aggression in his movements as he accepted. Drakhtaro clasped his hands together, officially changing the subject. He leaned back, letting his upper body rest upon the wall behind him. Footsteps echoing towards them caught their attention. The three had paused momentarily to see an approaching figure from the shadows. Brutus, still wearing his armor, approached with cracked and broken ceramic littered across the midnight blue color, reminding them of the intense moments of the recent past battle.
"The savior has arrived."
With open arms and a humid laugh, Drakhtaro gestured a motion of respect to Brutus.
"How did you manage that? I half expected to see your dead carcass hanging from their walls."
Radel voiced a question they all wanted answered. Brutus stopped a distance from his brothers. Scurrying behind him was a man clothed in old tattered attire from some unknown royal family. The man's eyes were wide and unaccustomed to the eternal night as he accidentally ran into the armored giant. Without a word, Brutus grabbed the man and effortlessly picked him up, placing him in the center of the four Nightlords.
"It was this human here. Come now, speak up, old man. Tell us the tale of how you betrayed your family and ergo the fate of your world."
Brutus lightly shoved the frightened man. I am a traitor to... A sudden grunt from the darkness demanded his silence.
"Well, we already gathered that. Start with your name, insolent fool,"
Drakhtaro said, his impatience showing. It was a cold air as the corridors echoed unpleasantly to the ears. His skin salted lightly as a breeze swept through, and the taste of copper never ceased to linger with it. Above all, his sanity suffered the most, as he could not see the behemoths in front of him. His mind created thoughts of ungodly visage staring back. He would either succumb to his fear now, or embrace this new reality. "I am Yasu Quintanus, and I gave way for the giant aboard the vessel. When we were taken under the Imperium, we suffered ever more. They taxed us not for money, but for the flesh of our future generations." A fiery resolve churned within Yasu as he recollected the years taken from him. When the giants first broke the sky and ravaged the Imperium's grasp, we were thankful, because the royal family saw that as an opportunity to take back what was ours. The ruling class once again riled up a lineage and fought back at the chance your intervention gave. He paused, giving a bow unfamiliar to them. Brutus laughed, but gave the corresponding welcome to the motion. Although we fought bravely, it was not long until the Imperium's disarray ceased and crushed our uprising. We were once again at their mercy, forced to take place in their labors. Many crumbled to the whip, and it is with sorrow I say my family was among them. But not I. I foresaw the day return once more, of gleaming skies weeping midnight blue. I waited and waited. Oh, I knew the day would come. The agony, the pain, the torture. I wrote epics of the giants embarking on our soil and hoped that I, Yasu Quintanus, would be given a chance to let loose the behemoth's rage. Gaze on in terror, I said. The Imperium and its followers alike. Those who wished me silent looked down as I walked, for they knew neither the heavens nor hells would give them peace, as once again the sky had cried midnight blue. Those dogs rushed and hounded amongst themselves as the iron rain struck the lands, and when your crimson eyes, yes, the crimson glare, when those who did not heed my words met the one true terror of our world, when they looked upon those horrid helms, they threw me to the Imperial dogs, hoping I would be executed swiftly. But instead, I was taken to the vessel of the stars, and there, in the cold depths, it was no better an opportunity could I ask for. No better a place in this cruel reality would I rather have been. Yasu stood quietly a moment after his speech, until Brutus gave a sudden strike of a fist upon his scarred chest. Through fate, this human saw me upon the hull. Were it not for him, that airlock would have been sealed forever, and I, Brutus, would have been lost to the void. Brutus mimicked the speech of Yasu and smiled. By the gods, Brutus, I do not believe it. You drudge the worst of scenarios and come out battered, nigh destroyed, yet victorious. There's bound to be a champion's title somewhere in the warp for you. Radel spoke as he leaned closer to examine Yasu's attire. What do you intend to do with him? His question was more curious than cold. I will decree a following, or order of sorts, perhaps. I'm not sure, but the man begged and sobbed that I take him away from that world. Of course, only on the condition he survive both the crash and 3 weeks of life upon the abyss. With a nod, Brutus motioned for Yasu to step out of the center. Demol sat quietly, watching the conversation unfold. His anger subsided, but still, his thoughts were of the battle and events after. A curious line of reasoning formed from his mind. At first, it was quelled with the answers he could reach or understand by actions of panicked guardsmen, but something of the events continued to itch. Soon, there was a blockade in his thoughts that he could not surpass. It was a redundancy he saw that would not be accepted by any logic.
Did they seem different?
Demol finally broke the silence, asking. Radel's mind immediately thought back to those hours searching for the answer. It was with familiarity that he felt the curiosity.
Yes, I did notice some carelessness. But whether it was intentional or not does not matter. They are dead, he answered. Maybe conscripts were high in number this hunt. Yasu, did you fight their battles as well? Draktyro laughed out. No. Some were disregarding any preservation of life. It was as if they wished for death and not feared it, but it was void of emotion.
Demol brought sense to the answer before they continued its path. Brutus sat, examining his memories from those hours. The fall of the vessel, the horrified faces and panicked behaviors of the Imperial Guard. Nothing seemed different than what it had always been.
Shame and terror, brother. Your eyes saw nothing new in that hunt.
The words were definite and left no room for disagreement. Demol let the answer quell his thoughts momentarily.
It could be, but was it not strange? Have we not raided 1,000 worlds before? On what world did we encounter a foe that acted as they did here? Does it not make you question the reason?
Brutus thought over Demol's words before answering. Could he be right? Was something of more significance present? Was there a greater foe in the shadows hidden amongst the carnage that may present an even greater threat? He allowed himself a moment's recollection of these scattered questions.
Perhaps,
was the word he relayed. Negligence weighed in heavily with the response. Such casual disregard angered Demol, as Brutus expected it would. Draktyro and Radel watched as a silence crept upon the conversation.
If it were a foreign world, one which we had no knowledge of the populace, I would understand your response, but they did not seem familiar from the last visit. Something was different.
Demol glanced towards Yasu momentarily after he spoke. He motioned the man to come closer.
Do you recall the World Eater from the War on Calith? Brutus asked.
The one who could not speak? Demol rebounded with, as he examined Yasu's attire closely.
Yes, the one that hailed from the fiery planet, or so the legend went.
What of him? Demol stopped and pulled his focus to Brutus.
In my final duel with him, I managed to get a word out of him, albeit nigh incoherent. Blood was all he muttered. He then proceeded to dislocate and remove his own jaw.
The relevance fell idle to Demol as he listened to the retelling. The purpose of that being?
The purpose is perhaps there was more to that World Eater. Maybe with time and close supervision, we would have seen his ultimate goal. Perhaps a lot could have been unveiled to us, and our path directed to another cause, one beyond our imagining now. But perhaps he was just insane, blinded by the god's blessing, instinct taking over, and his bloodlust finally frothing through in verbal form. Had I taken the time to debate the truth behind his final word, perhaps I would have missed my chance to parry the swing of his axe.
Brutus shrugged, letting the subject drop with unimportance.
Sometimes it is just as it seems, and nothing more, Demol. Come, Yasu, I will show you to your quarters.
Brutus was already walking away from the group. "Oh, yes, my lord," Yasu said with excitement. The three watched as Brutus walked down the corridor, turning out of view. Demol felt the eyes of Drak-Tiro and Radel shift as the two Nightlords sat quietly. Demol snarled.
True to his name, a brute who sees nothing more.
Standing up, Demol let a hand heavily slap the backside of Radel.
What was that for?
Radel exclaimed, keeping the force from pushing him over.
Consider it retaliation for your actions.
Radel looked confused at Drak-Tiro and held his hands up with similar emotion.
But if you retaliate, then that means we are no longer equal on this matter,
he said to Demol as the Nightlord began his path down the corridor.
Then I look forward to our next bout, you imbecile.
Demol waved off the statement as he walked further into the darkness.
This quarrel between you two will never cease at this rate, Radel,
Drak-Tiro said, shaking his head in disappointment.
One of you will have to be the better and apologize entirely, or just die.
Radel gave an unimpressed reaction to this statement.